United States. So that just came through on breaking news. So if you're watching it, go there and watch it and come back, or just have the show on and listen to me while you're celebrating and all that. And Philadelphia had a lot to do with that. So let's get back. Let's reel ourselves back into sports. Now the fight that we saw, last week, fight that we were talking about last week. And by the way, if you want to call in, here are the numbers, because I had about 3 or 4 people calling in. 215-634-8065. 1-866-361-0900. If you're calling outside the Delaware Valley, you're listening to our show. We've had people calling in from like Texas, Ohio, Massachusetts. So we've had people calling to the show. But I gotta introduce you to my producer now that so we have Nakia Kamar. Nakia, how are you? Come on, join me for a quick second. How are you?
I'm okay. There's a lot
Not at the moment, yes.
Okay, I can barely hear. I can't hear you on my end.
You can't? Can you hear me now?
You're kind of faint. I can kind of hear you. You're kind of faint here.
Okay, how about now?
No.
Not that much, but I hear you a little bit though.
Okay. I'll try and talk as loudly as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So where did you go to school? Where did you go to college?
Well, I'm still in college and I'm attending American University in D.C.
You said American University?
Yes.
Down in D.C., in Northwest D.C.?
Yes.
Yeah, my ex-wife is a graduate of Northwestern, of American University, and not Northwestern, of American U. Good school, producing really good people. A friend of mine, David Aldridge, people know David Aldridge from television, sports from ESPN and Turner Sports. Good buddy of mine, man, American U grad. So, well, good luck. Good luck there.
Especially since now they call.
And good luck there. Keep doing well there, and and keep like I say, keep getting this experience. And join the National Association of Black Journalists. Join.
Absolutely, I will.
And join the Philadelphia chapter too. A little plug for PABJ. Keep in contact with all of us, people who are working in the business. And the thing is, I always want to encourage young people to stay in the business and because there's still not a lot of us out there in different situations, but there's so many ways you can break in. Podcasts, so many things you can make. You can do this entrepreneurially, man. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. So I wish you the best of luck. Now,
you're not alone.
back, so right now, we got some games this week. We got to talk about Carson Wentz a little bit too. Now, I'm going to look at some things. Now, Carson Wentz, the Eagles won. They beat the Cowboys 23-9. The Cowboys are awful. I mean, it wasn't even, I like the Eagles-Cowboys rivalry. It's not even fun right now to call that for either team a rivalry. It's just that in the NFC East, both teams are so awful, that teams are so bad, man, that you have to, it's so bad that they just play. It's terrible. They just play. They're playing awful football, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch them. Just watch them play right. It just is. It's just so. So we have. Okay. So, but I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. I'm gonna get some calls now. We got now. Joe San Luquillo is gonna join us in a few minutes, but I want to get through my callers, and I'm gonna get through my callers. First, we got Richard on line 1. What's going on, Richard, on line 1?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right, man.
Chris, I want to talk about the NBA. Lately, I've been hearing some kind of trade rumors, that possible trade, that the Sixers can get James Harden, maybe for Ben Simmons, and I heard that Devin Booker is unhappy with the Phoenix Suns, and
I heard that too.
So, yeah. So listen, what about? I heard that rumors. The Sixers, that guy who came over from Houston named Daryl Morley. So what about trading Ben Simmons for James Harden? Or can we? About the Sixers getting Devin Booker. I heard maybe about a 3-way trade between New Orleans, the Sixers, and the Phoenix. What about that?
Would I trade Devin Booker for Ben Simmons? That's hard because Ben Simmons Ben Simmons out, his inability to take jump shots notwithstanding, there's so many other things that he does well. And that's why there's this dilemma, because he's a good defender, a good rebounder. And so it's a huge dilemma, because if you bring in James Harden, you need somebody to run the show. Or if you can get now, if you bring in James Harden and Devin Booker, that presents an interesting dynamic, because what do you do? I mean, do you want to point? I mean, today's point guards are too, you go from one thing to shoot first point guards to guys who can, run the offense. And so what will that mean for Joel Embiid? And that will get him and Harden, can they both share the basketball situation? So that's going to be, because Harden is a high volume shooter, and he wants to knock it down from he wants to knock it down from from everywhere. So it'll be interesting to see if Doc Rivers, and I think Doc Rivers is a good enough coach to get people to buy in whatever happens. I'm not so sure about trading Ben Simmons yet, because I still like other things that he does. I would rather see if Doc Rivers can get him to work on shooting or scoring the basketball a little bit. Doesn't have to be. He can take him up maybe 4 or 5, or maybe even 10 foul line jumpers, like right around the foul line. Hit a couple, hit a bucket or two. Keep the defense honest. But sometimes, and I've seen this, I was watching a classic game between the Lakers and the Pistons. Isaiah Thomas wasn't like a scorer by any stretch of the imagination. But a lot of times your point guard, when everybody else is struggling, has to be the calm against the storm, so to speak. He has to be the guy that, you're struggling, you got to get some offense. He's got to basically, get some offense, take the ball to the bucket. He's got to be the guy who scores to settle everybody else down. That's what a point guard does. He doesn't always score, but he gets everybody, or he tries to put people in position to take to score buckets. And so that's an interesting dilemma. Okay, so but thank you for the call. I hate to rush you, but I gotta move to everybody. Right. Thank you for the call, man.
You're welcome.
All right, we got Prince on line 2.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. This is an interesting day today. What's happening?
You don't get it both ways. Number one, you David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Hakeem Olajuwon all played down low. You cannot have them shoot them jump shots, and you can't coach him to do that, because he's not going to be leading the team scoring 60 points. So if he learned his position down low, somebody can coach him, and you get rid of Ben Simmons. You get rid of Ben Simmons. If you could get a Harden, you get rid of Ben Simmons. You got to stop these coaches falling around with these players based on college. You got to get. He's non-productive, and if you don't get Embiid to play his position, you're never gonna make the playoffs, but you're never gonna win anything. And I'm tired of hearing people try to adjust this team based on their ideology. Basketball has always been basketball. If you're over 6'7", 6 feet, you should be able to slam. So Ben Simmons don't get no credit because he can slam. He get credit when he do what AI did. When he got it in his heart to drop 50 or drop 60. He ain't got it in his heart to do that. I don't know if he ever had a game of 60 points. And so we've always been assassins. We had George McGinnis. We had Lloyd Free. We had assassins in this city right here. And you giving us players.
No, okay, Prince, I agree. On one level, I agree with you, and I'm not trying to be duplicitous and see, because I can see the other side of that too. But Simmons plays defense. He can rebound. He can do. He's not just other than scoring. He can take the ball to the bucket. And you're right, but you have to. I mean, you would like to see him learn how to shoot. On one level, I see where you're coming from, because if guys want to shoot, you don't want to shoot. And so you might be your best bet is to have a guy like a Harden.
I'm gonna give you one example, and I'm gonna I ain't gonna talk about Carson Wentz. I'm gonna give you this one example. When we had Andrew Toney, and he was the Boston Strangler. I
remember Andrew Toney
because he dropped points on Boston, and we won the game. Don't tell me how anybody could be coached to play defense. He don't get paid that much money to play defense without scoring points. And I ain't gonna talk about Wentz. I'm gonna get you next week. Him. All right.
All right.
All right. Later.
Thanks, bro. Good. Like I said, good call. Okay. I'm gonna take the other Joseph who's on the line, not Joe San Luquito. Joe, be patient. I'll get to you in a minute. Okay. So, here's the deal. Well, hold on a second. Well, let me bring on Joe. I'm sorry. Let me bring on Joe San Luquito because I got to get you in here, man. I got to get you on Joe San Luquito.
Hello?
What's happening, brother? Yeah.
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Couple things I want to talk about.
Chris, I think they just called Biden. Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I did. I just announced that on the radio. So they just called the election for Biden. So this is an interesting day. Philly does it again. But I gotta ask you. I want to start off real quick. Talk about Gervonta Davis. What's your take? What was your take on that fight last week? What was your reaction to just the devastating left that puts Leo Santa Cruz, a good fight, a heck of a fighter, world champion? You know, I mean, what your take on that?
He's devastating. Gervonta creates a really great situation at lightweight. Hopefully, again, if the political powers be, get out of the way and let these guys fight. You have Teofimo Lopez there, obviously, who's the undisputed lightweight champion. You have Devin Haney, who's fighting tonight. He's fighting. He's fighting Joaquin Bella, and so that's taking place tonight. So there's a really good convergence here of amazing quality lightweights, all coming in together. Now, again, it's a matter of politics that's going to hopefully enable these guys to fight one another. And it's
right.
But the fact of the matter is, you have three really good guys in the same weight class, and it's something there that's good for the sport. Well, hopefully good for the sport if the sport don't screw it up like it always does.
Yeah, because I'm looking here. Devin Haney is right, according to your publication, Ring ranks Devin Haney. He's a WBC champ, and he's third. He's 24-0. I would love it. Now, I've never seen Haney fight. I'm gonna be looking at his tape soon. But I would love to see Davis fight either Lopez or Lomachenko. Although I think the better matchup for Davis will be Lomachenko. That'd be a hell of a fight. I mean, because I think Lopez is going to go junior welterweight or move up.
You're right.
I think he's going to go there, but
more time at lightweight, maybe early next year, say maybe sometime in February or March of next year, he'll go one more fight lightweight, and then he'll go junior welter at 140.
And but the lightweight division is coming. I'm looking at, like I said, I'm gonna be a subscriber to Ring because you work there and everything. You're the man there.
Thank you.
But yeah, but see, that's gonna be the thing. I looked at, and I had Davis ahead by a point because I thought Santa Cruz started off boxing as he should, and he kept him off. He kept him off Davis off balance. But then Davis started to find the range with the body shots and all those other things, and then he kind of goaded Santa Cruz to try to fight him on the ropes and everything. So it just kind of turned out that way. I got to go to commercial break. So we come back. I want to continue talking about boxing, but I also want to talk about your boy Carson Wentz when we come back. You're listening to he is listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD. The Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
the Painted Bride Art Center in Old City, a farm in East Camden, and a hospital serving the black community in Coatesville. Watch the series Precious Places on WHYY TV 12 to learn about this unique community project. A project that binds neighborhoods with rich history and memories, plus a look into the present-day issues shaping our future. Watch Precious Places on WHYY TV 12 tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. WHYY is our community. WHYY is you.
Tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. to Recovery Talk 101 with your host, Rick Ford, talking about addiction, treatment, and recovery. Right here on WURD Radio.
Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of protecting you and your community from the worst of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we're back. So Joe, the next great fight is going to be Danny Garcia and Errol Spence. How do you see that fight going? Because I guess we got to start, trying to build up the hype for that fight. And how do you see that going?
Well, I'm going to turn around and take a real quick detour here for 1 second. And though it's an exhibition, there's a lot of curiosity surrounding it. Is Mike Tyson is going to be fighting Roy Jones on Sunday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Day weekend, from the Staples Center in L.A. And I think there's going to be an interesting. We'll just see what kind of attention that fight draws. But yeah, and then the following weekend, the following Saturday, December 5th in Dallas, you'll have Errol Spence fighting our guy here. Well, not our guy, but Philly's Danny Garcia. This is an interesting crossroads fight for Danny. Danny has suffered losses to Keith Thurman, to Sean Porter. I thought he was in both fights. The Thurman fight, I did think he lost, but Danny didn't get started until around the 6th round, which Danny would.
Yeah, I remember that. He started the
I
fight.
thought the fight with Porter was a draw, in my opinion. But I have no problem with people seeing Porter winning that fight. And now you have a very interesting situation of Spence coming off the long layoff and coming also off the major car accident and fighting a really, really, really dangerous guy in Danny Garcia.
I was going to say that
of beating Errol Spence.
Yeah, I think I'm going to tell you something. I don't think. I mean, Danny Garcia lost those fights to Porter and Thurman. I didn't think he got beat. I mean, he didn't get beat. He lost. I mean, and if you understand what I'm not saying that Porter and Thurman didn't do what they needed to do. They got their points in, but I think Danny Garcia. I think Danny Garcia is a huh?
He was competitive in those fights.
Yeah, he's competitive, and I think that what I like about Garcia is that Garcia will fight anybody.
Yeah.
Garcia ain't scared of nobody, and that's a Philly fighter. He's not going to worry about that. I do wonder with Errol Spence about the layoffs and the car accident. That takes a lot out of a fighter, and so from that standpoint, it's just a difficult thing. I mean, you've got to you really have to just hope that he's in physical. It's almost like Ali when he came back from his layoff having to fight Joe Frazier, but the difference is when you have an accident like that, you wonder how much that's going to affect you in the ring, especially and we had a long
when Ali came off the layoff, he actually had 2 fights. He fought Jerry Quarry, who was again a really, really tough guy. Ali stepped right into it and beat the hell out of Quarry. And then he fought
Oscar Bonavena.
Nino Benvenuti. So
he fought.
He had two fights prior to fighting Frazier, and then obviously we know the history there. And by the way, the 50th anniversary for that fight's coming up in March of 2021, which I'm really excited about.
I definitely want to talk about that too, because
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that was the most compelling boxing match in the history of the sport. I mean, it was so compelling that I even had my students, one year in summer school, I had my students watch the documentary for that fight to talk about, how divided the country was about that fight. But, but I was going to say, no, actually, Ali fought Oscar Bonavena, knocked him out in the 15th round, but not Nino Ben. I thought Nino Ben he was a middleweight.
And that convinced Ali that, hey, I'm ready for Joe Frazier. And to quote the great Larry Merchant, Joe Frazier was, God rest his soul, was a truth machine. And I think, by the way, this is the 9th anniversary of Joe Frazier's death today. Either today or yesterday. It might be today, the 9th anniversary of the great Joe Frazier's death. So, but getting back to Spence and Garcia, it is an interesting fight because, again, we have an idea of what Danny Garcia is about. Danny is a viable titleist. He's won multiple titles in multiple weight classes at 140, 147. But this is going to be an interesting crossroads fight for Danny, only in a sense that, am I that guy that's going to be good enough to win, to beat, good fighters, or am I in that step where I'm great? And that means you have to beat guys like Errol Spence. You have to beat guys like Keith Thurman. You have to beat guys like Sean Porter. And my fear with Danny is, again, if he loses this, you have to start thinking, as we do in boxing, that next step and where the next step goes, only in the sense that now does he become relegated to a high-end gatekeeper in the sense, and only in the sense that whoever is going to turn around and buy for a welterweight title, you're going to have to go through someone like a Danny Garcia. I think Danny is, on terms of a championship level, and I saw it with the Thurman fight, he didn't really start to kick in until after the 6th round. I like to think, again, that high level, for example, in any sport at a high level, you're exerting a high level of physical energy. And in boxing, obviously, championship fights are 12 rounds. I would say Danny is right now in maybe a 7 to 8, maybe even a 9-round championship level type of fighter, as opposed to a healthy Errol Spence who's a full 12-round type of fighter. So that's going to be the interesting thing here, is whether or not Spence has the endurance to stay there with Danny for 8 or 9 rounds, and whether he can outlast Danny. Because that's the only way any of these top-level guys, these elite guys, are going to beat someone as elite as Danny Garcia, is just to outlast him. And that's going to be the interesting situation on December 5th. I think Danny Garcia is very capable of beating out Spence.
Right.
And
I think so too. Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think that Danny needs to, I think he does have something. He needs to have something to prove, and I think he'll definitely bring it. Now, I switched gears before we go to our next break, and I gotta get you out of here. I'm looking at you. I've been studying your boy Carson Wentz. And I'm looking at the last. And I'm looking at every game that he's played this season, with the exception of the loss to the Ravens. He has thrown at least one interception in every game this season, with the exception of the Ravens game. And like I said, I'm gonna bring Al Thompson, on the next hour to talk full Eagles. But what's Wentz's problem, man? I mean, I've heard different reports saying that his mechanics have regressed. That he's regressed as a passer, because you would think that if he got it together, that, you know, the Eagles would be a lot. I mean, even with all the guys coming in, even with all the practice squad guys and guys coming off an injury, you would think that he would be better as a quarterback, even with the offensive line being the way that it is. You would think that he would be better. And where do you see it? What are folks telling you about Wentz?
Well, Chris, if you remember, there was a story in January of 2019 written by a little meatball-shaped, bald-headed knucklehead you happen to know very well.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Brought up a lot of these very issues. You remember that?
Okay. Yeah, you did. You absolutely did.
Exactly, Chris. And remember the grief I took, you know, personally and professionally for it. I mean, guys in the city that have known me for 20, 25 years, I'm making it up. This isn't true. That's not true. Well, guess what's true? It was all true. It's always been true.
Right.
It's been lying there, and it's been lying there, and these things have been growing and growing through time, and now they've manifested itself, and it's come to fruition. You know, this guy needs, the bottom line is he needs hard coaching. He wasn't willing to accept coaching then. Now you have a lot of, we'll say, light touches with Press Taylor and how, because I spoke to two NFL people this week, two very serious NFL people this week. They still think Wentz could be salvageable. They still feel Wentz could be, and they have a great, I'll just go as far as saying this, they have a great familiarity with Carson Wentz. They think he still could be and is a quality NFL quarterback. And, you know, Carson Wentz's problem is Carson Wentz. His stubbornness is both a strength and a weakness. We both know that. We both know he's been stubborn for all this while, that, you know, it's got to be his way, you know, and it's been his way to such a point where all the other coaches that were standing in his way, he's gotten rid of. You know, remember again the situation with Doug Peterson last year, getting rid of the offensive coordinator, Mike Rowe, and the receivers coach, which right now doesn't even register. But more so, all these guys that are suddenly out of the picture. And Wentz has gone in an opposite degree since the combination of DiFilippo and Reich left. You know, it's been steadily dropping. And again, these guys here, and again, you know who you might have an idea who I spoke to, but you know I spoke to guys. You know I spoke to guys in that locker room. And guys, and please no disrespect meant to you, and I'm not going to disrespect myself, but the fact of the matter is, the people that I spoke to know the game. They were on the field with the man. And they saw different things there that needed to be addressed then. And they let it fester, and they let it fester. And again, you're dealing with the spoiled child in Carson Wentz, and you're dealing with a management, and even far as an ownership, as someone wanted it to me again, I've said it on your air, and I've said it numerous times publicly and privately, Carson Wentz has the direct line to the backfield, meaning he has the direct line to Jeff Lurie. And the Eagles so far have been his little play toy, and that's all fine, you know. But if you're going to be accountable, you know, if you're going to do something about to do certain things, to see things, if you're going to turn around and try to push that square peg through a round hole, which he continuously does, this team's going to continue to struggle. Chris, I said this. Remember, you and I, when we spoke in August going into the season, this is not going to be a very good team. I didn't think they'd be as bad as they are, but you know, you have to turn around. It's injuries that are going on. It's a reshuffling of the offensive line that's going on. So there's a lot of things there that are tangible that you pick at. But also, it's the quarterback who hasn't been healthy.
I got to kind of end this session now, but I'll end this session by saying, in other words, Joe 2P continued. But let me say this though. If this had been Don McNabb, a lot of people ain't gonna like me for saying this. If Don McNabb was struggling like this, they would have run him out of town on a rail. I'm convinced of that.
You will not get an argument here, Chris. I spoke to two national people about that very thing today, and I'm going to go there with that. I mean, if Carson Wentz was black. You could fill in the blanks there, and I think you and I would both come up with the same answer.
That's true. Ladies and thank you, Joe, for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to break. You guys listen to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Hi, this is Jeff Brown from Brown's Family ShopRites and Fresh Grocers. Are you thinking about a part-time job to help out with the cost of the holidays? We have plenty of openings. You can apply online at shoprite.com/careers or freshgrocer.com/careers. Come join the Brown family today and help us serve the people of Philadelphia. Have a great holiday.
In the middle of a pandemic, record numbers of Americans voted and Philly turned out. Now, as Trump appears to have lost, Trump is trying to silence the voices of black Philadelphians. We fought and some of us died to win our right to vote. We will not let it be taken away. This Saturday, join community, labor, and faith leaders to ensure our voices and our votes count. Join us at Independence Park near Market and 6th, Saturday at 1 p.m. for a peaceful rally.
The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Now, before I get to my man Al Thompson of Football Stories, we still have Joseph on line 4. Joseph, how are you, sir? Sorry to keep you waiting, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you? Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You mentioned a caller earlier talk about the double standard. I go way back with the Houston Oilers and Warren Moon. You remember when Buffalo played Houston through the playoff?
Yeah. Yes, I do. That the 32. You talking about the 32-point comeback by the Bills? Yeah. Buffalo had made it to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row, and they lost. Well, right. I remember watching that game, and it was 32-3. And I went to sleep, and I got up in the third quarter. I went to sleep like 8 minutes in the third quarter. I got up, and Buffalo came back 36-32. Well, the Houston, they always pick on the black quarterback. That's why my favorite team was the Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb, Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick. They always look out for the black quarterback. Well, they blame Warren Moon for that game. They always blame Warren Moon. And Warren Moon said, hey, I put points up on the board. The defense didn't hold the line, So that's double. Go ahead. Yeah. No, I was going to say you're right about that. And let me tell you, in that overtime, remember, the Oilers had the ball first. And I think it was either Mike Holston or one of the Warriors receivers, Andre Talley, the linebacker. That was a holding penalty. And that should have been an automatic first down. And they called it and moved it, and it was an interception. Because Moon threw an interception. But if you watch that play, that was a defensive hold on Andre Talley. Okay, and I remember watching that game, and I remember like, that's a flag. Where's the flag on that play? I remember that game very well. And so and the fact that he was blamed, really, if people saw the game, I mean, the linebacker for the Bills held, I think it was either Mike Holston or one of the others. I can't remember what, but it was, and they showed the replay. And even they pointed out that was a holding penalty, but it wasn't called. And of course, Buffalo got the game-winning field goal. So, but you're right about that. Go ahead. We got Cam Newton, out of Auburn. Went to junior college, Ranger junior college. He might not be performing as the way they want because this is the first black quarterback we have in New England. I haven't got into the games yet, but I'm rooting for Cam Newton because I think he
he's going to bring changes. You know, we talk about the Black Lives Matter and stuff. We had Tom Brady. I'll still say Tom Brady will go down as the greatest quarterback ever, you know, but it's time we have a black quarterback. And another point, I will make it quick. You always talk about boxing. You know what also killed boxing besides going to cable? The Olympics. If you notice, they don't cover the Olympic boxing like they used to because the Cubans tend to, like in '96 Olympic in Atlanta, Cuba won 7 out of the 12 gold medals. And that's the problem with us. We spoil. We always want to win. And when we don't win, we want to send out the big guns like the Dream Team. Ain't nobody could beat the Dream Team or when we lost to Russia in the hockey game. But, you know, when I root for Cam Newton, anyway, have a nice day. Nice talking to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next guest, and a pleasure to have him on, is my good buddy Al Thompson, the editor-in-chief, CEO, whatever you want to call him, of Football Stories and Magazine. He does a show on Facebook and 10,000 other things, man. You know, so Al, I got to start today's show. I got to start this off. I was just talking to Joe San Lucido. We talked about Carson Wentz. In 7 out of the 8 games we've seen this year, he's thrown at least one interception. From your perspective, what is what is Carson Wentz's problem?
Well, I mean, I think he hasn't taken the drafting of Jalen Hurts very well. He's said all the right things, but he's playing like he's pressing, and he's just a turnover machine. 12 interceptions. He's fumbled. I think five times. He's lost at least 4 fumbles. He's a mess, and his quarterback rating is one of the worst in the league every year. But they're in a situation where they're paying him $18 million this year, and then the money skyrockets the next 3 years into the 30s. And who's going to take him? You can't bench him, so they're kind of stuck with him right now. And one theory is that I was talking to a medical person, a doctor, but I can't use this physician's name because I did not talk to this individual in the context of a media conversation. His theory was that he has not gotten, and I'm not making any excuses for him. I mean, because the guy has played in the past tremendously, but he just can't stop getting hurt. Is that he has never gotten over the concussion. That he doesn't see the field very well. And some of those throws are so off that, it's like, what is wrong? I mean, you see the same thing we're seeing, right? Everybody else is seeing.
Right. I've been watching it all year. And, passes that, back in 2017 during the Super Bowl year, I mean, it's not the same guy. Because I remember saying that he, at that time, he and Dak Prescott were going to be the standard bearers of this division for years to come. And Wentz is now, granted, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt from this perspective, Al. The offensive line there's too many injuries in the offensive line. Deshaun Jackson has been hurt in the receiving corps. Jalen Reagor doesn't have he's been hurt too, but Reagor still hasn't had enough experience against NFL defenses to really be a true threat. You've seen potential. The potential is there, but he's still got to get the NFL experience. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there, but for the money that they're paying him, you would think that he would be able to manage all that, right?
Well, I go back to a simple form of logic that Irving Fryer, I had a little one-on-one with him once about, I think it was one of the years that the Eagles went to like a bunch of quarterbacks. And he was, people were asking about, what is the difference between, this quarterback and this quarterback? And you've had 4 quarterbacks thrown to you this year. And he says, and Wentz's problem is the other way around. Is he never knows who's his offensive line. He never knows who his targets are, whatever. But the idea, listen to this idea, is Irving Fryer said, look, the football is exactly the same dimension. Unless you're Tom Brady, it's always the same inflation.
it's always the same, dimension. It's the ball. My job is to catch the ball, no matter who throws it, whether it's the equipment manager or it's, I'm trying to think of who would have been a great quarterback when he was playing here, but whether it's an all-pro or the equipment manager, I have to catch that football. And my point is that if he's wide open and he has plenty of time to throw, how is he throwing a ball like wildly out of bounds on an easy touchdown pass? No matter who the target is, he has missed throws that are inexplainable and unexcusable. And his knee is fine. Supposedly, we asked Dr. McMillan on our show last Wednesday, do you think there's problems with his back? Because Brian Baldinger, from Football Stories and the NFL Network, has said that Carson Wentz's his fundamentals, the way he plants his feet when he throws, the way the physical motion when he throws is way off. His technique is brutal, and he's arm throwing everything. He doesn't use his legs at all anymore. And I asked him that maybe from the back injury he had a year before last. Is he favoring a leg? And the doctor said, no, there's really nothing wrong with the guy. The injuries he had heal 100%. And then I was talking to this other medical person who thinks that because we've seen him play well, play Pro Bowl level, and he's only 27 years old. So is he suffering from some kind of neurological or just still some kind of effects of the concussion he had to leave the Seattle playoff game from last year? Is he? Yeah. I don't know. Again, he gets a certain part of it, like you said, benefit of the doubt because he's missing so many players. He's 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen he hasn't had his starting offensive line, which was a great offensive line when they're all there. And Jason Peters is in and out of games, so his blindside tackle changes like from quarter to quarter. And sometimes quarterbacks have to get into a rhythm with those O-linemen, that they kind of know their blocking skills, that how they kind of shave defenders away. And a quarterback to where it becomes instinctive. And he doesn't have that with those linemen. There's no question about it. I mean, the only guy the 2 guys that have stayed with him, I think, the whole year have been Herbig and Kelsey. That's about it. And Herbig has played, exactly 8 NFL games in his life. So tough time, that part of it. But there are fundamentally easy throws that he has missed. And I don't know, because he runs well. I mean,
you're right about that. He runs the ball well, but I wonder, Al, from that standpoint, when they drafted Jalen Hurts, and again, I'm going to go back, I want to touch on that a little bit. When they drafted Jalen Hurts, do you think management went into that decision? Because I was shocked that they drafted, because they had so many other needs that I was shocked that they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. I was hoping they'd get another receiver, but they or linebacker or offensive linebacker. You're right, linebacker position, which they've neglected since Jeremiah Trotter was here. Yeah. So so from that perspective, do you think that management had that mindset going into that draft about Carson? Is Hurts their insurance policy for Wentz?
Yeah. They know some things maybe we don't know. Maybe that concussion they had in last year's playoff game is a little bit more serious than they thought. Maybe he had issues with it, but they said may fade away. But it's always an issue. There's always a health issue with Wentz. How can the Packers drafted a quarterback in the first round? Granted, it was in the end of the first round, but and what has he done this year? He's been like the best. Next to Russell Wilson, he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, yeah. From that standpoint, I'm looking at this, but there are other problems with the Eagles too, not just Carson. I mean, I do think that I look at the defense is okay, but there's going to come a point this season where they're going to get tired. I mean, when they play better teams, they get pushed all over the place. Could part of this be on the defense too?
They didn't. They defense let up a lot of points against the Steelers, against the Ravens. They got pushed around in the second half against Washington, a bad team. So they have been inconsistent, but they did what they should have done against the Cowboys. That's a bad team, a bad offense. But they do have great skill players. They still had Amari Cooper, who did nothing. They still have Michael Gallup, who was all over the place. They still had, Zeke Elliott. Tony Pollard played, I thought he played okay. So they had pieces, and I thought those pieces would get them some field goals, and that's about what they did. And the quarterback is you can't play, and Ben DiNucci. But they did their job. That you're playing a bad team with a bad offense, pretty much they get them out of the end zone. So right now, and they kind of did okay against the Giants, the defense, and they held them to 21 points. So the problem, they just have to be able to, Carson has just got to play better in the second half of the season. Whatever is going on with him, he's just got to get it together. I don't know if it's a sports psychologist. I don't know if they have to see somebody about possibly looking at him about a concussion, lingering effects of it, that he can't see the field. There's got to be something going on here because it just seems like he can't play well until his back against the wall and they're about to lose the game, and all of a sudden he turns, he does the Cam Newton where he pulls, the Superman cape out, and he's, incredible. He did that against the Steelers, came up short, did it against the Ravens, came up short, did it against the Giants, won the game, and was one of the worst performances by a quarterback in the history of the NFL who has won the game. Like nobody has thrown for less than 125 yards, been sacked 4 times, threw 2 interceptions, and lost 2 fumbles and won the game. In the last, half century, some crazy number like that. And
I was going to say the last half. I go back to now. I know people. I know I'm a little old, but I go back to Unitas against the Bears in 1970. He threw about 4 or 5 interceptions and still hit John Mackey on a touchdown pass to win the game. But that's old. But what I'm saying is that what had his teammates lost confidence in him? I mean, talking to certain people that I know, have guys lost confidence in Carson Wentz? I mean, is there still support for Carson Wentz?
I think we don't get to be in the locker room this year because of the virus, and but the calls, we see these guys. I don't see anything where Travis Fulgham talks about now he should in great reverence when he talks about Carson Wentz. Dallas Goedert, same thing. You see Kelsey come out there and say, he's still the best. And, Pro Football Focus, you look at all Carson's stats, and they're horrible.
Right.
I mean, he's just brutal. But when you look to Pro Football Focus, who kind of takes everything into account, he isn't all that bad with them. I think he's like in the top 12 or 15 in the league, their rating of him. And I think they take into account all the pieces that he's missing. They had Boomer Esiason was on a commercial station yesterday and defended him to the hilt, saying that what do you want this guy to do? He's got nobody on the offense to play. So this isn't a universal thing where everybody is down on him. Technically, the Eagles are in first place for what that's worth. But in the new NFL,
technically,
with the new NFL alignment, it really doesn't matter anymore. There's not a big deal to make that first round. Only one team gets to miss the first round. So, and they're going to get a home game if they win the division. So it's like the bottom line is the bottom line. So the question is, if you're asking me, I think they need to look at what happened to him in that playoff game where he got hit in the head. Sometimes players just aren't the same. I think Eric Lindros had some problems at times with focus and with things because he was so concussion prone. But after that, I think it's all from the neck up, and he's just got to get over the fact that they drafted a quarterback. What did they expect him to do? He doesn't miss that many games. He's only missed like 8 or 9 games in his career, but they're at the worst possible times. You know, if he missed that many games that they were all at the beginning of each season, and and he played in all the playoff games, nobody would even think this wouldn't even be a discussion. But he keeps missing the postseason. He only played one quarter of one postseason game, going now in his 5th year. So, and this is a team that's been in the playoffs 3 times and won a Super Bowl, and he's missed all those playoff games. So,
but speaking of that from the neck up, I wonder how much his psyche has been affected with Foles winning that Super Bowl, and now you throw on top of it bringing in Jalen Hurts. I wonder about where his psyche is at this point. I mean, because you mentioned something earlier about him trying too hard, and I think, in my opinion, I believe that's the bulk of the problem, and I think he's pressing. I think he really he wants to win so bad that sometimes he just he makes mistakes. So there are a lot of young quarterbacks do that. I'm seeing that happening with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. You know, it's just this whole thing of, you know, you try so hard, and I wonder, how do you get young players to, hey, come back, relax, let the game come to you?
Well, you know, when the Eagles brought Jeff Garcia in, it didn't seem to affect Donovan McNabb at all. When they brought Mike Vick in, it was towards the end of his career, so he was starting to slide a little bit. And McNabb, as great as he was, never lost it. You know, he never changed his physique, his body, like a lot of other quarterbacks have. You know, Kurt Warner did, and Vinny Testaverde did. They lost weight because when they got older, and he never did that. He wanted to be big and had that padding, and I think it hurt him a little bit. But but Donovan, none of that stuff ever bothered him. And he just came out and he was just defiant, and he was just a great quarterback here, and won a ton of playoff games. And and McNabb, I mean, Wentz is, I don't think he can carry Donovan McNabb's jockstrap at this point, if you're comparing careers. I mean, he set up the Eagles with that Super Bowl run, but he wasn't there. And I think you're right. I think that still weighs on him, that he has to win a Super Bowl in order to measure up to the Eagles fans. And maybe that's never going to happen until he does. And if that's the case, then I don't know what to tell you. They got to maybe get another quarterback or let him go somewhere else. You know, I don't know what are you going to trade for him? Who's going to give the Eagles anything with that contract? You know, for the next 3 years.
Yeah, and given his history, I mean, his injury history goes back to North Dakota State, and so that's something that I see, you know, that I see as an issue there. But I don't know, you know, call me an eternal optimist, but I think that, and I tried to suggest this to Doug Peterson, and I said, look, why not just put Carson in situations and run the football? You know, let the playmakers make plays. Of course, he didn't listen to me, but the thing is, he's missing Miles Sanders. That's another thing. I mean, you're missing, and not only are you missing a guy who can run the ball, but Miles Sanders is that guy out of the backfield, and that'll be my last. I mean, how much of an impact has that made on what Carson can do?
Well, against the Cowboys, they didn't have Miles Sanders, but if you combine Corey Clement and Boston Scott, they had 20 carries for 94 yards, an average between like 4.75, 4.8 yards per carry. So, I mean, they had some success running the ball a little bit, you know, and and Carson himself ran the ball 4 times for 17 yards. They had 119 yards against the Cowboys, but then again, that was historically one of the worst defenses in NFL history. So maybe that's underachieving. Who knows? But they only had 123 yards throwing. Wentz did. Hurts had 1 pass for 9 yards. I don't know, but the way they bring Jalen Hurts in kind of freaks me out. It's like the whole stadium knows, hey, this is a trick play, everybody, and it's just so preposterously predictable that I don't see how any of his plays are ever going to be successful. So I don't know. They're saying, well, we can't use him as an athlete. He's a quarterback. We're going to use him as a quarterback, and that's it. You know, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Al, I gotta thank you because we have to go to break. Thank you for coming here today, as always. Where can we find Football Stories, the magazine, footballstories.com? Where can our readers find your magazine?
Well, the magazine is predominantly in the Wawa supermarkets, the Super Wawa food markets. It's in the racks when you walk in. It's free. You have been a contributor. We have 4 NFL credentialed reporters in the magazine, and it's in those mostly Wawas at Berchio's in Brooklawn, and you can just go to footballstories.com. A lot of our articles, and especially a lot of the high school articles, are on footballstories.com. There's a great one in there about Cherokee High School, who just finished their season 6-0. So good stuff in there. All right.
Well, thank you. Good stuff today, man. Thank you so much. We got to go to break. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. The Chris Murray Report. We'll be right back.
Keystone First VIP Choice HMO SNP Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan has a 4 out of 5 star rating and is one of the highest rated Medicare plans in the region. Keystone First VIP Choice and you are better together. If you live in Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, or Delaware County, and you have both Medicare and Medicaid, choose the Medicare plan that is working to help you get better care. Enjoy extra benefits at no cost to you with Keystone First VIP Choice. You get benefits like dental, vision, and transportation to and from your medical appointments. They also cover a fitness membership to a gym of your choice, $150 toward over-the-counter pharmacy items. There's no copay for doctor's visits. They offer a large provider network, a great prescription plan, dental coverage, and even eyeglasses. Plus, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can change your coverage every quarter. Keystone First VIP Choice. The name you trust, the service you deserve. Call Keystone First VIP Choice today at 1-877-686-1760 or visit KeystoneFirstVIPChoice.com. As a business owner, hiring and developing people from the community that your company serves is one of the best ways to show commitment to that community. Let WURD Radio help with Livelihood, our new initiative that connects Philadelphians with companies like yours. We'll feature your business, open employment opportunities, and resources to connect your company with talent and ensure that you reach your target demographic. To learn more about how Livelihood can help you build your team, visit wordworks.com. That's WURDworks.com. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. This Veterans Day vignette is brought to you by Rivers Casino Philadelphia.
In recognition of Veterans Day, WURD Radio celebrates the Tuskegee Airmen, the first black aviators in the United States military. The Tuskegee Airmen trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama while facing racial segregation, discrimination, and the denial of fair pay in the armed forces and at home. When dispatched, they